200 for 10. I got it, so I can't complain, but it just feels different. These new shoes, the Vivo Barefoot shoes, it's like a few millimeters difference of dorsiflexion, of angles, of positioning, but it just makes everything feel different. I feel like I have less leg drive because of that, because of the reduced dorsiflexion. Even on squats, I feel like it's just a slightly different position, and that's completely changed how I move. I feel like I have to really, really work to break the bar off the floor. And I feel like I lose just that few millimeters of positioning in the bottom of the front squat. That just makes me work just that much more in the upper back, in the core. And that has a huge effect. Essentially it's all, leverage and moment arms and whatnot. It's physics, man. You change the lift just a few millimeters and the end result on the other end is huge. It's like a few kilos, if not 10 kilos, right? The deadlift, I've watched all of these deadlifts that I've done today lots of times, and I can just feel, and I can see on the camera as well, that there's something wrong. The bar's drifting away from me. I'm just in an awkward position. So today I tried to step a little closer to the bar. Because of that reduced dorsiflexion, I don't want the bar to be too far away. Then, I'm kind of losing it with the upper back. I've tried messing around. I tried flaring my toes out a little bit more. Just feels different. How do I get out of this? Well, I can easily just go back to, let's call it, put weightlifting shoes, completely the opposite of what I'm doing right now. So actually add a heel and have that pseudo dorsiflexion. Would I deadlift more? Would I feel more comfortable? That's what's in my mind right now, because if I can display more comfort in Olympic weightlifting shoes, that I can just simply, boil it down to ankle mobility. That's what's upsetting me. And if I add a shit ton of ankle mobility into the mix and I feel comfort, then it's an obvious conclusion to say that it's about ankle mobility. Because ultimately, I can't find anything different, that I've changed in the last few days since changing the shoes. I have been running and I have hit 260 in the running period. I haven't done anything that's drastically different to really cause me trouble. So right now I'm thinking to myself, okay, yesterday was kind of like a freak day. I thought it could be a freak day, right? It doesn't have to be a something systemic that's caused me, trouble. Like, I'm under recovered or something along those lines, or the running or whatever. So I've excluded that it's a freak day because I am able to still feel strong. It's just I'm uncomfortable while kind of moving. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's zoom into this whole ankle business. What can I do? Today, I didn't record it, but today I actually walked in reverse on the treadmill. I tried, a bunch of you guys suggested walking backwards. To be honest with you, I think walking backwards, dragging a sled, pulling a sled, is the actual exercise. When you're on a treadmill, the treadmill is walking for you. So the only thing I'm feeling is like the glutes, the hip extension reaching back to step. I'm not actually pushing off with my quads because the treadmill is moving. So it's kind of like a different sensation. I feel like I miss everything. I tried turning the treadmill off, like some of you guys have said, turn it off and walk that way. That still kind of feels really weird because you push off once and there's all of a sudden momentum in that belt. And it's still, the next step feels like the ground is moving, right? It's not you moving along the ground, it's the ground is moving for you. So it's a different sensation. And really, I would love to basically go back to what I did before. Go to the tire shop, get a tire, put a bolt through it, chain, belt, and just, walk backwards like that. Drag something and actually do it in real life, not on a treadmill. So I've tried doing that. That didn't really have too much of an impact on my ankles or anything that I did after that because the exercise was just weird. All I'm thinking now is I could, with the running, I can put a bunch of calf raises, seated calf raises, standard calf raises, things of that nature, really stress the calves, really make sure the calves are strong. because while I was thinking about all of this, I thought to myself, okay, let's think about the lower leg, in a squat or a deadlift. Doesn't it make sense that if you have a weakness in the calf and you load the hell out of the body, right? You're deadlifting, let's say, 260 kilos. If the calves are weak, doesn't it make sense that the body or the lower leg or the shin bone is going to want to straighten out as soon as possible to prevent loading that joint? Because the calves really start to work really, really hard when you engage that whole shin bone angle. If you think about it, there's less force going through the calf muscle, through the soleus muscle, if the ankle joint is at 90 degrees. But if you have the ankle joint at, 70 degrees, or let's say at 45 freaking degrees, right? There's a whole lot more, tension through that muscle because that muscle is now longer. At least that's how I'm thinking about it. And so if you're struggling with dorsiflexion, you might have passive range of motion there. Like, if you're stretching it out, it feels really good when you stretch it. But when you start loading it, maybe the body's like, oh no, the ankle joint can't take that. And so it kind of forces you to have more vertical shins sooner than you wanted. And so in a squat, that means you're dropping the bar forward in the front squat. In a deadlift, it means you're shooting your ass up and all of a sudden the bar is drifting away from you. And so sometimes it's just simple as cleaning up the freaking dorsiflexion. Because I haven't gotten weaker in the last 3-4 days, 5 days since the shoes. You don't just all of a sudden lose upper body freaking mass in the lats, in the traps, and all of a sudden the bar starts drifting away from you. What I feel different when I'm engaging the deadlift. It just feels different, man. I don't know why, but this is what I'm thinking along the lines of that. Because there's something that's happened that's upset the deadlift and the squat. So even the squat kind of feels weird. I don't have that pop at the bottom. I don't feel poppy at all. Like, I feel like it's all posterior chain kind of squatting where it's just like you're leaning forward so much that you just kind of, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Sometimes when I squat, I feel in my quads and I feel under the bar. Heaps under the bar. Like, other times I squat and I feel like the bar is so in front of me that I feel like I'm deadlifting it with my front rack. If that makes any sense. It's really weird. Like, when you're moving all this way, you want to be engaging the most amount of muscle that you can, right? Obviously, you want the glutes and the hamstrings working, but you don't want it to be a freaking good morning. You want a bit of quads, especially in certain positions like, in the bottom of the squat, in the bottom of the deadlift. You want a little bit of extension from the knees. You don't want it all to be minimalist because of the angles are so tight because of the dorsiflexion and whatnot. So I think tomorrow what I'll do is I'll play around with the seated calf raise. Try and get as much blood in there. Obviously, when you're running, you're pumping the calves as well, but you're pumping the calves in a short range of motion. I feel like when you run, the reason why I had the DOMs in the calves, and it wasn't like the whole calf muscle, it wasn't the belly of the muscle, it was kind of like the connective parts, like right under, how should I explain it, in between the Achilles and the actual muscle. That's where I was feeling the tightness. And I feel like that DOMs that you get from running is more like a suspension related DOMs, not so much concentric, eccentric phases of movement. It's like there's a shock because you're running, and the muscles are stressed out from that. So will that carry over to an increased range of motion? Probably not. I don't know. So I feel like I need to add a bit of proper strengthening of the calves. Because if I can, get the calves stronger and put them on the map, all of a sudden I'm using them more. All of a sudden the knee angle and the ankle angle are better, and all of a sudden I feel more stacked underneath the bar. That's at least how I feel right now. Something to think about. I just can't get out of my head the whole idea that I feel like the movement has changed for me. The deadlift feels different. I didn't even try 260 today. I did 240. And I was like, man, that just felt shit, man. It doesn't feel, I feel like the bar is ahead of me. Even in the deadlift. It's weird. I'm catching it like mid-shin. I'm drawing it back in. It's exposing my freaking lower back like crazy. All of a sudden the loads are smashing the hell out of the lower back because the lever, the moment arm is so much more. This is the thing. We're talking about freaking millimeters here, man. But a few millimeters, bar drifting forward means I don't know how many fold more of force required to move that bar. It's simple physics, man. Simple freaking physics. So, few degrees here means a big difference. So that's what I'll try to do tomorrow. I'm gonna explore that idea. I mean, I was still able to do 200 for 10. Don't get me wrong. I felt strong in my posterior chain, but that first rep was crap. Like the second and all the way to the 10th rep, I felt like there was momentum in the bar. I'm touching and going, and it just feels a lot easier. But if I had to do 10 singles, it'd be a struggle. Like because that initial portion is just so disgusting, man. So I ended up doing 3 sets. I wanted 10-8-6. What I ended up doing was 10-8-1. That third set, man, I had nothing left. I was so freaking spent. I actually felt my sugar level drop like crazy, man. I'll go home and I'm like, man, I gotta eat something. I'm gonna freaking pass out. It is so expensive, man. All these years I always said, man, deadlifts off the ground for reps, it's such an expensive thing. It is so much more taxing than the block pulls and the rack pulls. Like, in the rack pulls are expensive as well, but this thing is another level, man. Like, everything is wrecked. And guess what I'm thinking about again? So I've got the ankle thing in my mind right now. That's kind of boiling away in the back of my mind about the ankle dorsiflexion. That's kind of one problem, and I'm thinking about doing, like I said, seated calf raises, standing calf raises. But the other thing I'm thinking is 45 hype. God, that's a beautiful machine. I walked past as I was walking out today, the gym, and I looked at that thing and I'm like, why did I leave you, man? Why did I leave you? Well, I left you because of the hernia thing, right? I started feeling like I was going to freaking pop my intestine out through the freaking groin. So I left you because of that, because I overdosed the hell out of you. I overdosed that shit real good. But now I know exactly how to prevent that. Just do a whole bunch of freaking sit-ups. Engage that interior freaking chain. Make sure your guts are insulated well. Make sure the abdominal wall is also getting some sort of training stimulus. But my God, I think I need a bit of flushing, man. I think I need a bit of blood through there. Because when I was doing those rack pulls initially, when I first started, when I was doing the deficits as well, man, I was doing a lot of freaking 45 hypers. I was doing GHD, back raises. I was doing all of that, and I felt amazing. Like I said, the only trouble was that the belly started freaking protruding like crazy because of the anterior pelvic tilt was getting worse and worse. Lower back was getting tighter and tighter. But if I can just supplement 3 days a week, a bit of abs, load the abs as well, like whatever, grab a 10 kilo plate, do that. Freaking 20 kilo plate if I can. I reckon I've learned from that mistake, but man, I want a bit of 45 hyper in my life, man. That is a godly machine. It's the best thing to get blood in there. It's freaking amazing for the hamstrings. So I might end up doing that tomorrow as well, depending how I pull up. Even if I pull up shit, I reckon 3 sets of 20, it's only going to be benefit for me, man. No axial loading. You guys know the drill. No axial loading, a whole bunch of blood through the back, through the hamstrings. The adductors get some love as well, So, I've got the whole ankle thing in my mind. I'm also got the 45 thing in my mind, 45 hyper. And that's been on my mind. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, right now, I'm still fantasizing about doing, deadlifts for reps twice a week. How many times do I do the 45 hypers? I don't know, maybe also twice a week. Maybe that's too much. I don't know what I'm talking about, man. But it's a beautiful thing. Sometimes I walk past machines and I'm like, man, especially that 45 hyper, man. I don't know if there's any other machine in the whole freaking fitness industry that I have more respect for. Hopefully I'm not missing anything in my mind right now, but man, that is a beastly machine, man. Day one goer, beginner, all the way through a freaking advanced lifter, man. I feel like everyone should be doing it, man. Everyone should be doing it. Now, don't be a numbskull like me, like a few months ago, and freaking blow a hernia with it. You still got to address the front. I was doing, man, some of the stuff, man, I think about it. I looked at the journal this morning. I was doing like 10 sets of 20. 10 sets of 20, freaking like The lower back is so full of blood. The hamstrings are so full of blood. It's like you can barely freaking stand. You can't even sit because even sitting makes it even worse. But so full of blood. Oh, man, it's a beautiful feeling. Beautiful feeling. Today I was walking out, man, after that third attempted set. Like I did one with the 200 and I thought, man, I can't be walking out with one rep like this, man. I feel like I've just been in a fight with a freaking Mike Tyson. I'm walking out. At least I should have a cool down and, you know, at least, you know, walk it off a little bit, you know, and, you know, don't you just get knocked out by the big stuff and just walk out, you know, warm down with some 45 hyper, get the blood in there. That's what's on my mind. So maybe tomorrow I'll do a whole bunch of seated calf raises and 45 hypers. I don't know why I get excited thinking about 45 hypers. I'm strange, man. Anyway, fellas, that's all I got for you tonight. If you're listening all the way to the end, appreciate you guys. It's amazing that you'd make it this far. But thank you everyone. And I guess I'll catch you guys in the next video. Appreciate you guys. Peace out.